What up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Funboxing with Will. I'm your host, Will, with H2O Co. Film and Photo, and today we're going to be doing another EDC review on a knife that I've had in my collection for quite a while. It is a folder made by Hogue called the Doug Ritter MK1, and it is a classic amongst the EDC community, and we're going to take a closer look at it today and find out just why it is a classic amongst the EDC community. So let's get into that review. Alrighty guys, before we get into the review, as always, I just want to thank every one of you guys out there, all the people that just stopped by to check out this video, or if you subscribed. If you find any of this information at all informative, or if you just like EDC or tech review content, please go ahead, hit that like and subscribe button and turn on those bell notifications to get notified when I put out new content. Other than that, I just want to thank you very much, and we're going to go over to that top-down setup now and get a closer look at the MK1 by Hogue and Doug Ritter. Alrighty guys, today, now that we're over here at the top-down setup, we can take a better look at this classic knife here, the the Hogue Doug Ritter MK1. This knife is going to be one of my, like I say, usually in the last couple videos I've reviewed, I'm reviewing my collection from the best, my favorites, I guess you'd say, down through the list. And so if you hear me say, you know, this is one of my favorite all-time knives a couple times throughout the videos, that's why. It's because I'm kind of going through my list from the best to the least favorite, and I own about 100 folders, so you might hear it, but out of, like I said, my top 10, 15, this knife basically has hit all of the marks, everything I look for in a EDC pocket folder. It's a classic design, and there's so much good about this knife that there's no question to me of why it's such a classic design. I'm actually going to be doing another comparison video against the Griptilian in the future here, because this knife and the Benchmade Griptilian by Mel Pardue have a weird, long, intertwined kind of history, and there's a lot of questions I've heard people ask about the two knives basically being the same exact design, and you know, how that came to be and all that stuff. So I'm going to go over that more so in the comparison video. I'm going to try to focus mainly just on the Hogue Ritter in this video here. So we're going to go ahead and get into some specs here. This knife is going to be made with 20 CV steel, as I mentioned. 20 CV steel, I've mentioned this before in some of my other videos. It is very chemically, like the chemical composition is very close to M390. So it's basically one of the only steels that you can get to a true mirror polish, from what I've heard. It's got a very tight, you know, grain pattern in the metal structure. And it's just really great for, you know, corrosion resistance and edge retentiveness. So coming in at 100, I believe I paid 165 or 67 for this knife. It's just a great buy. This knife comes in at a length of 4.8 inches closed. We're going to have a total open length here of 8 inches dead on, well, just dead on 8 inches. We're going to have a cutting length of 3¼ inches. So if your state prohibits carry over 3 inches, this isn't going to be something that you can carry around town with you, unfortunately. It's going to utilize Hogue's version of the Axis lock, which I believe they call the Able lock. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that here in a minute. It's just a very good lock, very one-handed use oriented. You can open and close it very easily with one hand. And as I said, I do believe this is, I have a large glove hand, and I can get a full 4-finger purchase on this knife very easily with some of the pommel sticking out of the back still. So I would consider this definitely to be a full-size knife. But for some comparisons here, we're going to set it up next to the Hogue Deca, one of its relatives there. Then here it is next to the 80 20.5 by Andrew Dempko there. So as you can see, it is definitely a larger knife. It's not a small blade by any means. Here it is next to the Benchmade Bug Out. And then lastly, here it is next to the Para 3 from Spyderco. So it is definitely going to be larger in profile, but that drop point blade, again, like I said, that's one of my favorite geometries on a blade, and there's a lot of good here. So the weight on this thing is coming in just under, I believe, what I would consider to be kind of bulky carry. I think it's going to be around 4-5 ounces. We'll see if I'm right. The weight on this bad boy is coming in at 4.409 ounces. So basically, it's lightweight enough to make work in any situation, but it's not ideal for, you know, gym shorts or you know, lounging around the house in your pajamas, but it could be made to work. It is still definitely something that could be made to work. They did a really good job with the pocket clip, all except for the recessed screws is something I do not like. I really wish they would have put recessed screws in on this. The way it is, they have it set up so that you can switch it to make it ambidextrous, fully ambidextrous lock with that able lock, but it's just sad to see so much detail go into such a great knife, but yet they still have, you know, exposed screws in the pocket clip for your fabric to get caught on. I've not had much of an issue with this specific clip, if I'm being honest, but I still definitely do not like that at all. And then we're going to come in with a blade stock thickness here. Let's measure that real fast. The blade stock thickness is going to be 1.330 on the blade stock thickness, and then it's going to come in super slicey behind the edge with an edge right behind the edge of 355 thousandths of an inch. So anything I've said in my past videos, anything under, you know, 500 thousandths of an inch is definitely something that I would consider to be a super slicey blade. I just really like this profile because, you know, you don't have to put a lot of leverage in to putting that tip into the material. You don't have to shoot your elbow all the way up. The ergonomics on the handle are simple, but they're just perfect. They're just subtly smooth, perfect with that little slight subtle finger guard right there for you. And I love this thumb ramp with the jimping that they've made. And due to the access bar, or I'm sorry, the able lock, it is just a very, very fidget friendly knife, easily opened and closed with one hand. Now, I've had a ton of Benchmade knives in the past, and Benchmade are the owner originally of the access lock. They invented the access lock. Well, the patent came up on it a few years back, and they finally were released to the public for other companies to use. And Hogue, since then, has been killing it. They did a great job on this knife. They do a great job on this knife as well. They use a bigger spring called a Wolf spring. That's the brand name that I've heard that they used. And it's the Omega spring that holds this bar into place. Now, over the years, I've purchased many Benchmade knives. I have the Bug Out here. I have multiple 940s, minis. I have the Tengu Flipper, just a lot of other Benchmade knives. And every single one of them, except for the Griptilian, funny enough, I've had to return for warranty work because the spring either slipped out of the position that it was supposed to be in, or it just broke flat out, and I had to have them replace it via warranty work on every single one of my knives, and some of them multiple times. Yet I have never had that problem with Hogue and the Wolf springs that they use. So they definitely are doing something right in that department, and I just really appreciate the fact that this knife is very solid. Definitely something I would consider a hard use knife. I wouldn't want to go out and baton wood with it if I, you know, didn't have to, but if it was a life or death situation, I would trust that this would be able to get it done without putting too much structural damage on the knife itself, you know. Like I said, it's a great all-around classic design for a reason. When we get into the other video, the comparison video that I'll release here pretty shortly, we'll talk more about, you know, the design and how it's very similar to the Griptilian. But as far as bang for your buck goes for this particular model, it's just an amazing knife. I'll go ahead and leave a link to the site where you can buy these down below in the description. I'm not sure if at the time I post this video if they're going to be in stock or not, but you can always sign up for an email list to get notified when a new drop hits. It's definitely something that I would consider at the price of, I think I paid $167 for this knife. With the quality materials, it's got full G10 slab liners with very small portioned milled out for the steel liner, but the majority of the handle is G10, so there's no flex in it. These are thick liners with standoffs in the back. It's just an all-around great knife, and definitely good, and a number one reason why I would say I can see why this is a classic knife. So that's it for today's review, guys. We're gonna get back over to the desktop setup so we can finish up this video. Alrighty guys, well that's it for today's review. I hope you enjoyed the information I was able to provide on the Hogue Ritter MK1. And if you, like I said earlier, if you found any of this information at all informative, or you just like EDC content or tech reviews, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe, and turn on the bell notifications to get notified when we put out future content. Other than that today, that's it for today guys. I just hope you guys have a great day. Stay safe. Above all, stay creative. We need more of that in this world. Until next time, guys.